So, without further ado, let's start out with Disney Animation. There are three sort of announcements, I suppose, in varying capacities that I want to talk about here. Certainly not the most substantial announcements made in this section. That being said, let's start out with perhaps the smallest bit of news, which is Zootopia 2. I believe we got a little bit of promo art as well from Zootopia 2. And I don't know if it's a poster officially or a promo art, but anyways, we got to see a little bit of the new logo. Obviously, Zootopia was one of the most successful films that Disney Animation had made alongside their Frozen franchise. And so it was kind of curious, that they had waited so long to make a Zootopia 2, but we knew it had officially been announced, so we knew that it was going to be in the works. And so we just got some more updates with Zootopia 2. And really, the only thing that I wanted to highlight here is that Ki Kwan, obviously from Everything Everywhere All at Once, recent fame in Loki Season 2 as Ouroboros, will be voicing a reptile named Gary. In what capacity, what the character is the character a villain? I have a sidekick, a new supporting character. I have no idea. But Ki Kwan will be joining the cast of Zootopia 2. And look, I mean, good for Ki Kwan, right? He made the ultimate comeback from acting. He was obviously in Goonies and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom all the way back when he was a child actor. And then he kind of quit acting for a while and really made just the biggest and most heartwarming, triumphant comeback with Everything Everywhere All at Once, which, for those of you who have been watching the channel know that I wasn't as high on as most other people, but I really can appreciate the dedication that Ki Kwan brought to the role, and he obviously won his Best Supporting Actor Academy Award for that. And so it's really awesome to see that he's getting a lot more work for really fun projects. It seems like he's really enjoying his time in the Disney family as well. So that's awesome to see for him. So there is Zootopia 2. Next up, the announcements around the Frozen franchise is what I wanted to talk about next, which obviously Frozen is perhaps the most popular and lucrative franchise that Disney has. The first one and the second one, I believe, making well over $1 billion. These are immensely popular films. The first one took the world by storm, and the second one came out, I want to say somewhat recently, perhaps not. Maybe it's been a while. First one coming out, I think something like 10 years ago now, which is just unbelievable. It seems like these films take a long time to come out. Case in point, Disney Animation came up there on the stage and talked about Frozen 3, which they say will release in 2027. And just kind of seeing that date, it reminds you just how far away some of these things are. 2027, it seems like, oh yeah, in the blink of an eye it'll be here, and I'm sure it will, right? I remember thinking those kinds of things when Marvel announced their entire Phase 3 slate in, 2015? 2014 even? 2014, they announced films up until 2019, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Lo and behold, they came and went, faster than I could have even imagined. So 2027 will be here before we know it. But it's still a long ways away, and it's really interesting to think about the fact that they, some franchises, I always bring this up because I think it's remarkable, and this is not the standard, by the way, just, for a franchise, but the Spider-Man trilogy in the MCU made 3 films in 6 years, pretty much, and that's just incredible, especially considering how high quality I personally think they are. Other franchises, though, seem to take a lot longer, and Frozen seems to be one of them. It seems like they'll be making the third film, and it'll be something like 15 years between the first and the third film. So that's interesting. But again, as long as the film is high quality, which I'm sure it will be, then, because this is their cornerstone franchise, then I have no doubt that everything will turn out great on that front. So Frozen 3 releasing in 2027, as well as a hint, apparently, towards a Frozen 4. So look out 2035, I suppose. That's not an official date. I'm just making something up. But yeah, I mean, Disney's going to keep making these movies as long as they keep making money and as long as they're successful, and who can blame them for that? So Frozen 3 and maybe Frozen 4. And the final announcement, perhaps the biggest one coming from Disney Animation, and the one that they kicked the panel off with, actually, is Moana 2, which is, I think, their most immediate film coming out. I could be wrong. Moana 2, which looks like it could be their third billion-dollar film of the year. Obviously, the first Moana was just a smash hit with Dwayne Johnson, and the young woman who's playing Moana, who I can't ever pronounce her name right, and I don't want to butcher it here on the channel. So, but she did an amazing job. She's a phenomenal singer. Obviously, How Far I'll Go is it's one of the songs that lives in my head rent free. That's fantastic. It's coming out November 27th of this year. And like I said, it could join Inside Out 2, which is, I think, nearing the $1.5 billion mark, which is crazy, and Deadpool and Wolverine, which will cross the $1 billion mark probably by the time this podcast comes out. And it could be the third one. So we want to talk about, Disney, quote unquote, in a slump. And Disney was in a slump over the past couple of years, but it looks like they're really coming back in full force. They have basically all of their quadrants firing on all cylinders, except for Star Wars. But Disney Animation, potentially, as long as Moana 2 is good, will reach $1 billion. I have no doubt about that. Obviously, Inside Out 2, Pixar made $1.5 billion, and Deadpool and Wolverine could be approaching $1.5 billion as well. So really exciting time for Disney, I'm sure, and for Bob Iger, and most importantly, I suppose, for the shareholders. But anyways, they talked about Moana 2, and then they released another full trailer, probably the last one, maybe one more before the film comes out. But it looks really fun. Looks like it captures the spirit of the first one really well. For these kinds of films, me personally, I just look for, the same kind of tone that was set in the first films. And I think Disney Animation has done a really good job with that, bringing back the cast and adding some new characters in there. It looks like Moana's sister is going to have a big role, at least emotionally, in the film. It looks like from the trailer, it looks like the fact that she's leaving the sister behind, or she left the sister behind, is going to be a big part of the emotional journey for Moana, which is really cool. Obviously, Maui is back, and the pig is also joining on for the ride as well. So yeah, it looks really fun. These films, nothing really stands out to me. Frankly, even the Pixar trailers, which we'll talk about next in the next segment, these Disney Animation and Pixar trailers are, they're not really targeted towards, I think, me and people of my age. But that's not to say that the films themselves don't target, people like me, because I really enjoy a lot of these films. And so I really can't wait to see what comes next. So yeah, those were the big announcements from the Disney Animation side. Let me know in the comments of the YouTube video which announcement or which project you're most excited for from the Disney Animation side.